pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Mrs. Dawson. Here. McManus. Here. Trustee Connor.
Here.
Trustee McCord.
Here.
Trustee Conway. Here. Trustee Young.
Here.
Superintendent Sullivan.
Here.
And Deputy Clerk Menard. Here. Thank you. I believe trustees have minutes of the June 9th board meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve unless there are any changes. Moved by Trustee Connor.
Second.
Second Trustee Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. At this time, we'll go out to people who are here to speak to us tonight. Sam, since you probably want to be here for Dave's presentation, is it okay if we go ahead and do the sewer project first? Very good. Okay, Dave?
Here we are. Have two updates to pass out. One as far as the project is concerned, and the other one as far as the budget is concerned. Take those out and go over them.
For those of you that are watching at home, this is Dave Robinson from Clough Harbor, the engineer working on our sewer project.
Okay, as far as the project update is concerned, I think it's pretty self-explanatory as far as the individual items are concerned. There was one issue that came up in regards to contract 3, which is the sewer line work. I think all of the pipe is in the ground, and the pump station has been delivered and is set. But the contractor did have a mistake in his layout where he was off by 13 inches for the line that runs from the pump station south along Main Street. We've had several discussions with the contractor as far as the different options available to remediate that problem in his survey, such that it would impact him the least. And it kind of comes round circle to the fact that really the only way to solve the problem is for him to take that pipe back out and lower it 13 inches. Otherwise, he's coming in too low to meet the sewer line that's already existing. Or actually too high to meet the sewer line already existing. I've had conversations with him last week and again today, and I think that's pretty much going to be the way that it's going to go forward. And if there's any changes to that, I'll let you know. So the fix to that problem seems to be take it out and reinstall it in accordance with the plans.
That's the line right on Main Street.
That's the line right on Main Street.
Right in front of the park and everything.
That's right. Yeah, and unfortunately it has to be taken out.
When was this realized that there was a problem?
He realized the problem when he was about ready to cross Main Street from the east to the west and connect to the existing manhole 45. It's about at the intersection of Cedar Street. And he found that his line was too high. He went back to find out where the problem was, and the problem that he had was that his layout was incorrect.
I was just looking for a date.
Right.
June 6th.
June 6th. Seemed like there was quite a delay between the time that it was realized to the time that there was some type of solution.
Well,
I don't know. That's about the impression I got anyway.
It came to our attention, I would say, last week. And might have been the week before, within the past 2 weeks, it came to our attention. And what we tried to do was to propose to the contractor work that would impact him the least, but yet, on the other hand, give the village what they need as a good, solid work product. to that end, one thing that I did in trying to come up with some remediation for his problem was to take a look at the lines coming in manhole 45, and there are 3 lines. One comes south on Main, one goes east on Cedar, and another one goes north on Main. So one comes down the hill, north on Main, into manhole 45, which is about at the intersection of Cedar and Main. Another one flows from the west to the east along Cedar into that manhole, and then another one flows from the north to the south into that same manhole. And then those 3 lines combined go underneath the road, and right now what to do is they go into the river. And what he needs to do is pick up all those 3 lines. Now, if it was possible for him to run those lines back and replace those lines, if he had a steep enough grade, he could have done that and gone with the installation that he had, as opposed to taking those lines all out and relaying it 13 inches lower. Unfortunately, when we took a look at the elevations in the collection system, we just couldn't do that. We had enough slope coming from the south to the north, going down the hill on Main to Cedar, but we didn't have enough slope along Cedar from west to east, and the other line along Main that flows from north to south. So with that, he proposed another solution, which was to install a larger line. Now, a larger line can be laid at a flatter slope, but that's not supposed to be used as a corrective measure for not laying the line at the correct grade or for trying to get around the fact that you don't have enough pitch. So what I did tell him was that it contravenes the standards. The velocity in the line will not be that which is needed to scour the solids out. However, if he felt that was a solution, which again, a rule of the standards is that you shall not go from a smaller diameter pipe to a larger diameter pipe and then back again to a smaller diameter pipe. But I told him that I could appreciate the situation that he was in, and if he wanted to put together some type of remediation design that could be submitted and would be approvable to the state, I mean, I certainly wouldn't stand in his way. And after he got into the standards himself and started reading the situation that he was in, he also realized that there really just wasn't any other avenue for him other than to take that line up. So that's kind of what took up the week and a half to 2 weeks, was just coming to grips with the fact that that was the only solution, to take that line back out. As far as the second page, which shows the payment applications, these are the payment applications paid to date. And on the budget sheet, you'll show that there are some payment applications that are pending, that aren't shown here after paid. But paid to date so far for Sheen, we have 4. Yates, we have actually we have I think 1 for Yates. I'm not sure if the second one's been released yet. I don't think the second one's been released. And for AP Rail, we have 1, and the second one came into our office. I spoke to him today. He said he sent it out on Thursday. The one for 184-0784. We'll take a look at that as soon as it comes into the office. And if everything is in order, and I believe that Sam has already taken a look at it and feels that everything is in order, if everything's in order, we'll recommend to the village then that they release payment on that. He did assure me that in that payment application he doesn't have any work along Main Street. So for the work that he did, that he has to take out, that he has to redo, that's not in the 184-071. And as far as shop drawings are concerned, everything that's been submitted has been returned. So we're up to date on those. As far as the budget's concerned, perhaps the line items that you want to focus on right now would be those on the left column, which is project amount, and those on the on the right column, which is cost to complete. And you'll see under contract 1, it has a project amount 1.169 million, and on the right it's 700,000 to complete. So we've expended about $500,000, $468,000. So we're about halfway through. And I expect that things will pick up now. The war months are here over the next 3 months, and I just spoke to Sam today about that, and we want to see if we can get an updated schedule from Sheehan as to when he's going to have his construction complete.
Dave, this is something that I thought about after you were here the last time. When you say projected amount, is that the amount that was projected after the contracts, the bids came in?
Yes.
So it's actually just a duplicate column?
That's the contract, right.
Okay. Because when
I'm sorry, I should have focused you on reference contract amount.
No, that's okay, because when I looked at this way back, I thought projected amount, when I looked, I thought that would be the budget estimate before the bids, so really, we can just work with the contract amount.
Right,
Okay.
contract
all right.
amount.
All right. Sorry, I just wanted to
That's okay.
check that.
And contract 2 is 72,200, and contract 3 is 724,800. And where this leaves us right now is with a contingency of about, let me see, where was that number? About $292,000. That would be that number in the middle column all the way in the bottom. Follow up the contingencies across. So what it says is the projected amount at the beginning going in was about 446, and right now with where we are today in the contract, we have about 300,000 in contingencies. So I think we're on track about where we want to be right now. I would say contract, as far as contract 3 is concerned, with all the pipe being in the ground, we have that last bit to work out still on Main Street, but that wouldn't be an increase to the contract. I don't see any substantial change orders coming from contract 3. I did talk to Sam today, and if there are any change orders that the contractors anticipating on contract 3, we would like to know now. We would like to see any changes to his scope or fee submitted at the time that he recognizes it, as opposed at the end of the contract, where everyone perhaps has lost mind or sight as far as why the change occurred and why he feels he may be due extra money. So we're going to be doing that with AP Real and the same with Sheehan. I think it's important to stay current with any additional charges that they may see. As far as the award of the other alternates are concerned, I know that you'd like to do the work on Cedar Street. My suggestion would be to wait one more month. Let's see where AP Real stands with any projected change order on his part. I'd like to talk to Sheehan and see where he stands. He has a lot of his work done, and to date, I don't anticipate that there will be any significant change orders submitted. So I think that we are in pretty good standing on that contract. So it looks as though the contingency, as projected, is going to pretty much carry through.
In our investigation, our plans for the Cedar Street storm sewer didn't work out exactly the way we were hoping. So it doesn't really directly impact our other project to wait and do it in another month. I mean, the construction will all be done by fall. So I don't. If that's okay with the board to wait one more month on that.
I think it's
And we already have a contract with them,
Right.
so it's not like it's going to increase in cost if we wait.
That's right.
So,
And that's pretty much the update.
okay, just to let you know, Dave, Janice and I have not as yet had a chance to sit down and go through all this. I think she sent you down numbers.
I think you sent them to Maria, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is this based on those?
I will tell you, I'm not sure whether it is or not. I know, I do know that it has the latest payment application in for J.E. Sheehan, which is contract 1. I'm not sure if it has anything, any revisions that you sent down. I will check next week.
I talked to her on Tuesday, and she said at that point she was going to meet with you. Was this done prior to Tuesday?
I had this pulled together last week, and I'll tell you that I was out of the office on Friday, and this morning Marie wasn't in the office, so I did want to ask her about that.
Like a week ago I talked to her, and she thought you two were going to work on it.
It may include it, I'm not sure. Only because I couldn't speak for it this morning, I'm not sure.
Do you think it's possible that you and Maria or one of you could?
I'll reconcile it with whatever was sent down.
Right, because I think, some of the different accounting totals, it'd be easier if you took a look at those numbers, because you had them all up to date, right, when they went out, Janice?
Yes, that's the last billing.
Right.
Okay.
Because we were off on some that you weren't aware of.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, let's see if there's anything else. One item that's really a construction item, and I didn't even have a chance, Sam, to talk to you about this. I understand that one of the properties on Main Street, Mrs. Fillon, there was some tile damage done behind the house when they installed the pump station. And our understanding with all the residents was that we would return everything to previous condition. And so I don't know if the proper thing is to notify a contractor of that, because apparently there are tiles that have been crushed and are actually broken. So, and I thought since you both were here, maybe we could talk about how that should be
That's
handled.
exactly what should happen. You should notify the contractor if there's some damage in the field. And
He has done some repairs, but I don't know whether he's finished and if it's satisfactory.
My understanding, and I have not been down to see it firsthand, is that because of the nature of the tile, repair is going to be very difficult. That to really put it back to previous condition, it might need replacement, because these are individual tiles that are cracked and crushed. So repairing is tough. So if you could maybe pass that on.
Will do.
And maybe we could get a letter out to Mrs. Fillon explaining that we've notified the contractor and we're pursuing that, so she knows that we're working on it. Anything else on the sewer project while David's here? Any questions?
How do you want to handle this $181,000 bill?
this would be my suggestion. Since I spoke to Ted Reel this morning, and he told me that he just sent his 4 copies to our office Thursday, and I haven't had a chance to look at them. I have to believe that they're probably in order, but I still need to just take a look at them before I sign off. If you wish, you could pass a resolution to the effect that since the village has already looked at them, and they seem to be in order, that if we look at them and sign off on them, that you could release payment in the amount of $184,071.84, or whatever it is. It's up to you how you want to work that. Otherwise you won't be able to act on it until the next meeting.
Should be another month.
Right.
At the next meeting, right?
Right. I think he tried to get it in on time, and that's the best I can do. I can't tell you to pay it today without looking at it, but I have to believe that when I go back, it's going to probably be in my basket.
So we could consider
It's board decision, how we want to handle it.
Well, what you're saying, if you give the approval and everything is correct,
Right.
you can continue on to pay.
Right. And Sam's already taken a look at it. He's satisfied with it as far as the quantities are concerned and the items that he's asking to be paid for. We just need to take a look at it to make sure the form and substance is there and sign off on it and recommend payment by you to the contractor. So it's that last step that if you want to make a motion contingent upon that we'll try to get that back to you as soon as we can. And he won't have to wait
No
a
problem
month.
with that, as long as Sam has looked at it and Sam's pretty satisfied with it. That's
The
all.
only caveat, if you will, the only thing that I question, and that would be up to you, back in not this estimate, but the previous estimate, we had paid the contractor for 65 feet of pipe, 10-inch pipe, and I forget how many feet of 8-inch pipe, which he now has to dig up and replace. I did not see to deduct that amount from this bill because he's going to replace it and the contingency item would cover it. But if you want to withhold those amounts, I guess you can do it.
I was under the impression in talking to Ted Reel today that he pulled those out of that payment request, and if he didn't, we'll pull them out and then recommend payment in that amount. It would be a lesser amount.
No, he did not pull those out.
Okay.
And I put that in my note to Hero.
Okay. That would seem fair.
When would we have the
If they're in my office tomorrow when I go back, you'll have them by the end of the week.
But
We'll
if
take
you
a-
change them,
What's that?
if you change them, you won't have them by the end of the week, will you?
You'll still have them by the end of the week. I will just take a look at his quantities and work with Ted to come up with a reasonable deduct on the value of work that he's submitting for. And if we can't have a meeting of the minds as far as a reasonable deduct, then it won't be processed. But
I
if we
have to have
can,
my
then it would be.
paperwork in by Wednesday noon to get the money.
Okay, so we'll make sure that it's Wednesday noon, before Wednesday noon. Tomorrow's Tuesday. So if it's in my basket tomorrow, I would need to turn that right around overnight it to you Wednesday.
But if you have to make changes on it, you won't be able to do that, will you?
It shouldn't be a difficult change. It would just be a matter of adjusting the quantity. In other words, if he
Do
has,
you have to sign that?
He doesn't have to sign it again, you can just make the changes and initial them.
I don't think that'll be a problem. And if I do need anything from him, I'll have him fax it. Otherwise, I'll have to wait a
I
month.
thought that was why he signed it, because he was agreeing to it. Okay.
I don't think it'll be a problem, Janice.
I just hate to hold up all the bills for one bill.
Right.
You know, I have to have it in or else.
No, you're right. And I hate to hold him up a month, so I will do what I can when I go back tomorrow. There.
We could have them submit a week early or something.
Okay. I'm wondering if we should set a kind of a date in terms of trying to get these figures reconciled, because I think it's been a couple months since we got the last spreadsheet, and we're now 2 more months into the contract, and we still aren't sure that our figures agree with your figures. Is there
I'll try to have it pulled together by the end of the week.
Okay. So maybe by Friday you could let us know where things stand?
So,
Okay. Anything else on the sewer project?
What is your step?
At this point, would you like to vote in terms of how to handle the bill? You can take the recommendation.
Yeah, I guess make a motion, I'll make a motion that we approve the payment to Rio,
right, AP real.
BP Rio for the 184,071.84, pending approval of Peck Harbor, and that any adjustments be made necessary to deduct for the pipe on Main Street.
Okay, so move. Second? Second, trustee Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. The only other thing, Dave, that I can think of is, if there's any news on the wetlands mitigation project?
Well, I checked into that today before I came down.
Okay.
And it seems as though the APA is still yet to get back to us. I had Steve Wilson call APA again today, and he was supposed to give me a call if you heard anything from them, and he didn't. So I will make an earnest effort again this week to follow up on that. But that seems to be where it is, a bottleneck right now in the APA.
Thank you.
Alrighty, you're welcome.
And then on a related issue, Sam has been taking photographs as the construction has gone on to serve as a record for the village. They are in the state, so if anyone's interested in looking at them, they're available. I'm sure they would make fascinating viewing. We could subtitle it "In the Trenches" or something like that. That's much better.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
No, it's his idea.
Your title, your subtitle, alternate title you came up with for your pictures. Okay, well, I asked Sam to come in and talk to us today about the Church Street project. I wrote a memo to all of you about where we stand. Sam is at this point ready to recommend that we go ahead and approve going out to bid on the project. The specifications have been up on the file cabinet, and Sam, I think has a new set of plans hot off the drawing board, right? The new plans came in, Sam, it looks like?
Yeah,
Good.
they came in, but they are far from perfect.
Okay.
But they're a good start.
You don't need me for this, do you? Alrighty,
No, thank you.
have a good evening.
Good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Oh, lovely colors.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Okay.
Think it's downhill from here.
Something that's here. And this is the bottom half of Church Street. And we're going to, these dark lines are sidewalk replacement. The red lines are corrections to the original drawing. Here by the church, we're going to eliminate the curb and pave right up to the sidewalk. Here we're going to put a catch basin in the church parking lot. Even though it's on private property, we're going to do that. The church had no objection. And from the standpoint, best place to catch the water. The water comes off the parking lot, and there's a curb here, and flows along the curb, and that's the best place to catch the water.
Stays right within the confines of the sidewalk and becomes ice.
These are laterals going from one side of the street to the other. The main will be on the west side of the street. It will come down to the north side of Cedar and go to the river. And then,
Pass that over.
this is the upper half. And again, sidewalk replacements, and the main will be on the west side of the street, and cross drains, laterals. And there will be curbs on the street. Driveways will be repaired when the culverts under the driveways are eliminated. That sort of thing, and these are the specifications. If you want to look at them. If there's any big surprises in it, Mr. Keeble has approved it. Forms for legal aspects, and they're available for study.
This project on the top of Church Street, that Church Street was supposed to be wide, what, our last meeting was at 4 feet?
Yeah.
Was it 4 feet on the top of Church Street was supposed to be wide? Is that going to be curbing all the way down? So curbing from the top of Church Street all the way down through?
Yeah.
Ditches will be filled in with
Except
cover?
in front of the church.
Instead in front of the church, right? Because it's going to be tarmac. I just stated that. But then there'll be no ditches up on the top of the hill.
Right.
I think that's what we mentioned in the last one about widening that.
Yeah.
The one thing that came to my mind, this intersection of Church with Meadow and Pine Street gets some unusual traffic in it, getting trailers up Meadow Lane. Will this better handle that, or has this accommodated that? And what happens is trailers get brought down Church Street, and they get down, I guess, backed up down Pine to go up Meadow Lane.
The alignment is poor between Pine Street. There's a poor misalignment between Pine Street and Meadow Lane.
Are we still going to have it? Not the alignment problem, but they wind up going off the road and tearing up the side.
they'll be going over curves now. That'll be a big difference, I would think. I know it's enough to stop anybody, but they're gonna hit the curb as they back up.
But if we stop them, they may not be able to manipulate their trailers up. I don't know. I don't know. It's just something that came to mind as what was that road?
Well, maybe it can be widened.
We take a look at that tomorrow with a different eye. I guess I hadn't really
And when I thought about this, I drove by and you put down a lot of asphalt in that area, I think because of that, because it kept getting torn up every time a new trailer came in front of the one residence. And we put down a lot of blacktop that looks very bad. It does not look.
It's not wonderful.
It does not
No.
look nice, but it handles the trailers.
I think if the situation comes up, I think you'll find a lot of times, even trailer sales, if they have to, they can get a small crane and just pick it up and straighten it out. Allow them to do that, pick it right up, set it around slabs. I mean, you know,
They
that's
haven't
an
done.
alternative.
Mhm.
I mean, the option is still there.
Yeah.
And I'm with Doug, if we don't want to put this money and make it look nice and have somebody come tear it all up either.
That's right.
Well, and just
But-
if there's nothing we can do about it, then we have to make sure we get after whoever is doing that and somehow.
But I think it'd look pretty bad if we left that intersection at a discombobbled look like it is now and do the rest of it nice. You know, just for the apprehensive of having trailers moved in.
Yeah, it has to have the same finished look.
Oh, yes,
No
I
matter
mean,
what
if you're
we
gonna
do.
do, it's gonna go,
Right.
you know.
So you and Bob
Yeah.
are gonna take a look at that tomorrow, possibility of maybe getting a few more feet to handle that? That's a good idea.
Maybe we can change any of those radiuses on that.
Just
Maybe
another
able
thing.
to make a few different radiuses right there and open up them corners a little bit. It might help.
And the turn mostly would be made going uphill on Church, going south,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, see, they haven't been able to make that turn because of where the old culvert came across the road, there was a header there that they would hit their wheels on, tear the axles right out from under them. So that's why a lot of times they would come up around and come up Pine Street and then try to make that swing that way. And going up onto Mr. Martin's, God, I've seen them up 6, 7 feet up on his lawn.
We can't
And
have
he,
that.
Yeah.
pardon?
We can't have that happen.
But there's something that we could do in the design that could accommodate that, but yet not destroy the integrity of the overall project. Because that's the more important element. And then another thing is I was going through the packet that you left, I was just, in the underground piping, is that where some pump connections would be? Somewhere you mentioned in
Yeah.
I guess in the specifications, that underground piping and they're responsible for all of the fittings and or whatever, I don't know the technical jargon, but that's where that would come. So
yeah,
we are
or
covered.
they pump into the street.
Yeah, into the street. Into the street, into the gutter, it had to be done that way. If there's a long distance and they have to cross somebody else's property, something else, they can pump it into the actual gutter, you'll have a gutter there now. And there won't be very long,
So it
much
would
distance
come out through
between.
the curb.
Yeah.
Is that how it would work? Come out through the curb.
There may be one or two of them like that.
But that has been a comment. One of the things I was looking for, and I figured, well, it must be under this underground piping. Now, would the resident be responsible to a certain point, and then we're responsible to the right of way, or how would we work that?
We'll only be responsible for the connection, if that.
Yeah.
I know several people put their own lines in, and everything was put to the actual drainage system. And
But it is going to be a storm drain
right.
running down. When we put it in, the individuals will have to hook up and then.
When it goes in, they have to hook up. That's right. We can't have them do it after the fact.
Right, yeah.
We certainly don't want to start tearing things up again once it's down.
Absolutely not.
That's gonna be a good project for the next few weeks, getting a letter out to the residents and everything. Do you think, Doug, that you might be able to take care of that? Like draft a letter letting them know and take a look at the old report? That would be great, because it really, it's the sort of thing we really need to do now. Give people some fair warning, right?
And
Okay.
one question, and something we discussed, and I haven't had a chance to see this proposal. We had mentioned about doing something with the apron going to Meadowlake, excuse me. Always mess that one up. And is that incorporated in that?
Yes, and now it will be further modified for making the trailer. But, it is, where the pavement has been disturbed, as far as it goes up, Meadow Lane, it will be repaired.
So where it's not good pavement now?
Well, where it has been disturbed by the previous contract. If you want to go further up Meadow Lane, that's something else. But right now, it's only goes up to where it's been disturbed.
So what would that be, the beginning slope of the hill?
Yeah.
Where the large, where there's a lot
With
of
all
damage?
those potholes,
Okay.
that nasty area.
That was
we discussed.
that was the area we really wanted to make sure we took care of. Okay, and just cost estimate is about the same. Any other questions in terms of the design of the project? Okay. Since it is going to be 3 weeks until we meet again, Sam does still have a revision to do on the drawings, and probably some of the specs will have to be revised, but basically we have Mr. Peeble's legal approval, and it's just a matter of final copies to be put out. I was wondering if the board would at this time like to authorize going out to bid as soon as everything is ready, so that we don't have to wait for 3 weeks to our next board meeting.
I think we should.
Okay, good. So, would someone like to make the motion that we go out to bid on the Church Street Improvement Project? And I guess with our usual, with the right to reject any and all bids, is that, okay,
Yes.
very good. Is there anything else we need to include in that motion? That's a good point. Well, we can't do that as yet until Sam gets his information. So, can we do it?
Is going out within the next 3 weeks,
Yes, before the next board meeting.
we're gonna get people on this.
Well, see, we don't know when, they're not ready to go yet. So we want to go out to bid as soon as we can.
Well, we can just say like a month from the date that it goes out or something like that, when that can be, put in at the time.
Is that happening next month? Can we just go out to bid and date set, et cetera, at the time?
Okay. So we'll authorize going out to bid, and then the date and time to be determined when the final plans are complete. Okay, so I have a motion, trustee Laporte, second,
I will.
trustee Young.
Let's get the show on.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Okay, and Sam, before you leave, just a couple of quick things I wanted to take care of while you were still here. Sam has submitted a letter that I think you probably just received today. When we contracted with Sam back in June of last year, he gave us a proposal for his services, and we're both looking at Church Street and Prospect. And he broke out his services per hour and the out-of-pocket expenses and mileage and so on that he would be charging us. And we had set an initial amount of $6,000 to prepare preliminary plans. At this point, he's gone well past that point. We have almost the final bid documents ready, but we've gone through the $6,000 that the board authorized. So
The letter you're referring to dated June 20th?
June 20th, right.
Yeah.
And it's in regard to Church Street improvement. At this time, Sam would like us to authorize an additional $5,000, again, to be billed on an hourly and as costs are incurred basis, to cover hopefully the remainder of the project through construction. We had some earlier estimates on this, and I want to tell you we're saving significant amounts of money and have the confidence knowing the person who's working for us. So,
So moved.
moved by trustee Young, second trustee Connor. All in favor to authorize an additional $5,000 as discussed in the June 96 proposal?
Can we do that as a transfer from the A909 to LD 1440.1, so we'll have an account established, $5,000 in?
Okay, and so we'll be approving it and also transferring to a new account specific for this purpose, and Mrs. Dawson will fill the numbers in on later. We had a motion, trustee Connor, trustee Young, second trustee Connor. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you go, Simon.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hello. It came perfect timing. If you'd like to address the board, you didn't have to wait through all the dry construction stuff.
Okay, if people don't know me, David Blindsey on Prospect Street. A while ago I had submitted a letter about changing the culvert at the end of my driveway because I want to get the driveway tarmac and I wanted to make the culvert the same width. I've had some conversations with the superintendent and he's recommended that rather than try to replace the whole culvert, we just try to get a small piece to make the culvert the same width that my driveway would be. And I'm in probably full agreement. That's probably the best way to go. I just don't know where to get a piece of culvert, that's all. It's concrete, 12-inch inside diameter, I believe, and I don't know whether the village has got something I can buy or what the deal is. The other question I have at this time is that since I submitted the letter, the wife and I have talked about getting our lawn leveled up, and I would like to request that the whole sidewalk in front of my house, I'll have it taken away by my contractor that's going to do if I can just pull the whole sidewalk out, because it is such bad shape that I couldn't even begin to level my land and have it have the sidewalk be safe. It's not safe to walk on now because it's up and down and all mismatched and everything else. And I'll have if it's all right with the board, the sidewalk ends just past my property line anyway. That's as far as the sidewalk goes. And in order to improve the drainage from my house and level up the lot and improve the appearance, I'd like to just take the whole sidewalk out of there and get a small piece of culvert so I can match the width of the culvert up to my driveway.
And if you want to deal with the culvert issue first, and then we can talk about sidewalk?
We have at least one piece of that. It's concrete culvert up the old water tank, up at the water tank. So it's up to you how you want to dispose of it.
What we've done in the past for residents who did want culvert replacement, actually I'm thinking about filling in ditches.
If it's driveway, we've done that.
Well, I think we only do a certain width. I think there's a standard that we do for
Around
driveway.
20 feet.
And I don't know what your driveway is. Would this be extending beyond that?
Yeah, it's 24.
24, so. I mean, I don't know if I don't think I have a problem with.
He's going to do this himself.
Right, and I realize that. As far as a piece of culvert, what it's worth, I have any
It's
idea.
used culvert, so it's something that's new. Sure.
Well,
Your prerogative.
I don't remember us discussing the width of driveway culverts when we replaced them.
I think there was a
remember that.
standard. There was a standard, but I thought it was 20 feet.
Yeah.
That we
That's what we did to somebody else on Prospect.
If one had been longer, would we have only done 20 feet?
Mm-hmm. And we charged the person the other 20.
We have done that?
Yes.
Charge cost to us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'd be glad to help you out with this old piece of pipe we have lying around. The thing that we have to do is make sure that we can legally transfer that. The one big no-no for any kind of a public board is to make a gift, even if it's a gift of a used culvert. So, do you have an idea, Mrs. Dawson, how we can handle that?
I just didn't call my client.
Okay, we'll try to very reasonable that we could try to put a fair market value on it and sell it to you. I mean, I would think that that's what we can do. We'll just have to check that out and make sure that that's okay. And then you could use that, and I guess you're planning on doing the work yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Would that, if that's okay with NICOM, would that be agreeable for the board?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, in terms of your sidewalk, I'm not that familiar with the sidewalk, so I guess I'll have to defer to the board on that.
Can I make a comment on it?
I haven't really seen it, so I can't say
But
myself.
it's very rough up there. It also creates a situation that tips the lay of the land back towards his house. He would like to grade it so that at least the front would grade away from, if I remember the conversation, and grade the water, whatever water is there, into the ditch, which I think everybody would like to have.
And then
And this
come
actually-
along and replace it? Is that
He's
that
going to make it lawn. Just make it all lawn. There's very few people that walk up on that very end. I don't think it, I can't tell you how far it goes beyond it, but it doesn't go.
We don't maintain that in the winter.
We
right?
do not do winter maintenance on it.
So this is the end chunk of sidewalk up on the hill, is that where we are? Okay.
All I can say is that, yeah, it's fine with me that it's removed and taken care of, but at some point, if we decide to revisit
future
putting a
board.
sidewalk in there, that's probably in our right of way anyway.
That is your right of way. There's no doubt about that. That's your right of way. I mean, my markers start from the inside of the sidewalk and go in. It's just that right now the thing is in really bad shape.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with getting rid of it as long as, you know, it's known that at some future date,
Oh, yeah.
if we do want to put a sidewalk back in there.
The steel
that we'll
pegs
be
are
able
still
to-
in the ground to show where my property line is, so that's not going to be a problem.
And I think one of the reasons only because it's at that far end where it's not going to be
It's
affecting.
not in the middle of anything.
Right, and that's something we do have to look at. If there's something in the middle, we can say, well,
Mold it from both.
I understand.
So
You need a
then-
motion on that?
I think we probably
I
should have
move
it
we allow the sidewalk to be removed and replaced by board.
moved by trustee Young, second trustee Connor. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Very good. So we'll check with our legal advisors on the transfer of the culvert,
Okay.
but you're all set for the sidewalk, and we'll get back to you within the next few days.
Okay.
We'll have Bob try to come up with fair market value and make sure that we can go ahead and do that. Okay?
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, Dave, have a nice evening.
Yeah. Good night.
Okay, we do have a public hearing on the sewer law scheduled for 7:30, but we have a little time for that to take out to business, so we'll move on to reports. Okay, the first thing that I have is a purchase order from the deputy clerk for 1 minute book, legal size, 300 pages. If you've never seen these, I just happened to run into it a few weeks ago, and they are really quite impressive. She keeps all the official minutes on this huge legal book that goes into the state, and it's time for a new one apparently. So,
So moved.
moved by trustee Young,
second.
second trustee Connor, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay. Second thing is just a clarification to make sure that we're still on track with our plans during the budget period. We did buy a new computer for the office. That stemmed from a request that was made during budget time from the police department. They wanted a new computer, but we decided that in buying a brand new machine, it would be probably better to put it to use in the office where it's used much more extensively for billing and word processing and everything. I believe the plan was to then transfer the old computer from the office to the police department so that they would have a computer. I was asked about that today, and I wanted to make sure that was still the board's wishes on the computer. Okay, so I can go ahead and give Woody the okay on that. We had some correspondence that came in today, and I'd like to congratulate Deputy Clerk Menard on the Sarah Grant approval. This is really exciting because we're now going to have microfilm records. It'll be an extra safeguard for some of our old records. How far back do we go here in the village? What are some of our oldest ones that we keep? back 1870, back to the 1870s, we'll be able to microfilm those old records and purchase a microfilm reader to have right here. So it lets you make, doubly secure some of those old records. And that's a grant you worked on over the winter time? In January. So just congratulations on that. We do have paperwork to do on that, but I thought everybody would like a chance to read the letter. We can act on that at the next board meeting. Okay. I did put out a memo, the first part of this Church Street, which we've already dealt with. The other issues I thought maybe we could quickly take a look at. I think we need to come to a meeting of the minds on streets. I've talked to several different people, and I got several different understandings of what's going on in terms of the street. So I think we need to take a look at that. Before we do, I thought we might want to consider the manpower that we're working with. We've been down at least one man for the past 2.5, 3 weeks. We had some illness, injury, jury duty, and I think we can expect that at least one man on our crew will not be back on active duty anytime in the near future, I would expect. And so I wondered if the board would like to consider what we have done at different times in the past, hiring a temporary laborer maybe for the next 5 weeks to give Bob additional manpower. I really wanted to go and sweep the streets next, but because Butternut has taken so long, if we go to sweeping streets and we put off construction, then we've got to rent the roll that's being used to do the street project for another couple of weeks or a month, and that actually drives up the cost of the project. So I thought maybe this way we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, put 1 person doing some street work, possibly even 2, keep the crew working on Elm and Prospect.
That will have 1 man tomorrow.
I think if we're going to try to keep to our schedule here, we have to do that.
Yeah.
You
can't do it without manpower.
That's right.
Unforeseen injury takes another 40 hours away.
Yeah. And I would expect that that's going to translate into even longer before we get somebody ready to go back out and work. I mean, I know Bob was running the backhoe one day, or the truck himself one day, trying to get Butternut Street opened back up. And we really can't afford on Elm and Prospect because they do bear so much more traffic. And they, that Butternut, there was other access to get to. We can't afford a long, drawn-out stretch where those roads are torn up.
Well, this is our time to get projects done. This is the time of the year. Winter time, we don't get much done. I mean, I have no problem with it. If we have the money, I have no problem.
We need a motion if that's what the board wants to do.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, moved by trustee LaFord that we go ahead and hire a temporary labor. Second, trustee Trombley. Okay. Any more discussion?
This is for, as you have written here, the next 5 weeks.
Right. So we would.
Now, how would we go about getting some temporary person? I mean, if you go out, advertise it and then,
Too long.
It's too long, that's right.
Use a temporary service?
That's one alternative. There was a gentleman who just retired, not too far from Calvin LaPorte, as a truck driver. Well, he's asked if we had temporary work, we could put him on. I don't know, I'd like to approach him. He's not a young man, but he's not.
So do we need something more than just a truck driver? I mean, it's nice to have a truck driver, but I think
Well,
we
I
need
think
something.
I'd have to sit down and talk with him for a few minutes to find out if he's pretty capable. He's a good sized guy.
Do we have other applications on file?
We have some applications on file we can contact.
Okay. And we do
That's
have people
possible.
that have worked for us in the past too that we might be able to contact to see if they were interested. So I think we have a pool. I agree with you, Chuck. If we have to go out and advertise and do an interview process, we're looking at burning up 2 or 3 of our good weeks. So Bob and I can probably work this through pretty quickly, meet with somebody, and
Yeah, procedure is fine with me.
okay, very good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carrie, thank you. I think that's going to help. But I think we all watched Butternut. I walked by, checked it out every day, and it's a big job for 2 people, and that's basically what we have on it. So, okay. The next issue is really finalizing our decision on streets and where we want to put the money that's in the budget. And I sat down with Bob and tried to get a handle on where we were, what we spent so far. And that's where, and then we need to make a decision about where we want to go. That sheet of paper that Bob gave you when he came in this morning that says 2 Native Scientific and so on, we're gonna have to use that. Just to give you a quick background, and then we'll have to take a break for the public hearing. In the budget this year was $48,000 under the street maintenance contractual, money that could be spent to fix the streets. There was $38,000 under regular contractual, and then in another line item, chips, there was $10,000. So that's the money that is there to be spent on street repairs.
I got a question on the chips.
Sure.
We have more than $10,000 for chips.
So I think you put down in your budget.
Oh, okay.
The other stuff was carried over.
Right.
That money's in his revenue. There's like $28,000 in his
Yeah.
revenue for chips.
Okay, so is that where we're getting the 40-some thousand then, including that?
I think, yeah, I think that's safe.
This is something that happened when we did the budget, and I don't know, I think I mentioned it to the board at the time. It hit me when it was all done. We set our tax rate, we balanced our budget, and we were real happy with the tax rate, and we put in $18,000 additional into that 5110.4, the contractual one. We added 18. It had been at 20,000 the year before. We added 18, so we made that 38. And then we had in the chip section, we had 10,000, and so that left a total of 48. Now, what I had hoped that we would do is take the 18,000 and from the industrial park and the 28,000 approximately from chips, but we used that as revenue in the budget. I mean, that went in. You know what I'm saying? It was already figured in to balance the budget, and that was all done. Before I realized that, the budget was all set and done. So that's why the number works out the way it does. So it still gives us almost $20,000 more than we've ever spent on streets, which is a good thing. And the other nice thing is it does, leave that money for payment on Church Street next year. The money, we should be able to find the pilot money to use.
There was a little bit of other street repairs that we were going to do besides Prospect. And I guess that's my question. Will we still be able to do some of that?
Do as much as we can.
And I think my sense would be, let's do it, and if we have to pinch pennies in April next year, that's my sense. Because the budget's a big flexible thing, and that we usually, if it's $1,000, $2,000 to the shoulder National Line Drive, let's do it and get it done, and then we'll balance that out in the spring. That's just the
These
way
are things that we have planned on, not only with, which I thought, the money, but also the time we allocated to the schedule, right?
Right. Okay, well, why don't we go back to this and we can look at all the different streets in detail after we have our public hearing. Mrs. Dawson, would you like to read the legal notice?
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Champlain will hold a public hearing on June 23rd, 1997 at 7:30 p.m. at the Village Office, Champlain, New York, for the purpose of hearing those in favor of or in opposition to the adoption of Local Law Number 3 of 1997, entitled A Local Law to Amend Chapter 94-123, Public Sewer Service Charge of the Village
you like to move on this at this time and adopt this local law? Okay. Could I have a motion first to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Young, second trustee Laporte. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
I move we adopt the law.
Okay, motion trustee Young to adopt local law number 3, second trustee Connor. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much. Okay. So we start with the $48,000 and subtract out the $20,000 that Bob needs to operate. A huge chunk of that's gasoline for the equipment. He breaks it out on his budget sheet for us. And so there's gasoline, there's just regular street maintenance, and it totals $20,000 for getting any road repairs. That left us about $28,000 to play with for street repairs. When we first looked at Butternut, we expected the cost to be about, I think we estimated about $8,000. That was to do the stretch along that first block of the street up to the Chestnut Street corner. Now, since then the cost has obviously grown. To date, Bob has spent so far about $5,300. Is that right, Bob? Plus, you have to add the 2,000, and that's on the stone, the hauling.
culverts,
Okay,
stuff like that.
right. Then the $2,000 to rent the roll brings us up to close to $8,000 right there without the asphalt. So I guess, you know, when we estimated, we underestimated the cost of it.
We started right off without the culvert. Didn't intend to put the culvert in at all, and that's another whole deal.
Right. But, you know, so it's up to about $8,000 now without the black topping. When Bob did the estimate on the black topping, he did for the whole street, from the corner where it meets Maple Street, all the way down to Butternut, or to Prospect. It was, I think, $15,000 for the asphalt
That
total.
was that's if we were to do the whole thing, right?
I think it was 15,000, including the cost and the hauling, right?
Yeah.
It was about $15,000. So I asked Bob to give you these numbers, to break down that 15,000. And maybe, Bob, you could explain this, because I'm not quite sure exactly what you have.
What I did is, I broke it out as 880 feet of 2-inch by 18 feet, what it was going to cost us to put that in place. And it works out to about $7.18 a linear foot for each foot you go up the road. So I just started subtracting. You know, if you want to go this far, this is how much you subtract from the grand total.
So
You
now,
know, whatever you want to deduct, you.
just to clarify, that's just to resurface
That's
the part
just to
that's not torn up.
Right.
Okay, all right.
That's that 2-inch top.
Okay, and then, so if you take your figures, when you say to Native Scientific, that would be to stop before you get to the corner.
That would be to stop right after the
Maple.
patch. Right.
Okay, to go from Prospect all the way up to the cut in the road at Native Scientific and stop there. Nets us about $2,000. It lowers the cost about $2,000. Okay, and then Bob, I think we still have the wrong tree here. I'm sorry. It's the corner of Chestnut, right? You're saying? All right.
Chestnut, yeah.
I'm
No, that was my fault. I said Maple. We
When you say subtracted from what?
from the 15,000.
From your grand total, from your,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Then it has to be added to 8.
Right. Right.
So subtracted from 23,000.
Yeah,
Right.
for all practical purposes, yes.
Okay. So if we stopped where we are, where the road is dug up at Chestnut Street, sealed it all off, that would save about $6,300 off the $15,000 to do the street. Is that right, Bob?
Yeah, your 15,000 is what we're saying is the, let me get my head straight here. Look at it. My grand total thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you want to use total cost for butternut,
Just so that, yeah, because I didn't,
it would be,
okay,
you
so,
want, you want to work with the $21,000.
yeah,
Okay.
use that.
All right, so if you want to look at it that way, if we do the whole thing from Prospect all the way up to Maple Street, all the way up to the past the hedges, it'll be $21,000. If we want to stop at the fill the cut at Native Scientific and stop there, it'll be about $19,000. Is that right, Bob?
Yeah.
And if we want to stop where we have the digging finished at Chestnut Street, then it'll be about, now do I add this, is this an extra 6,300, Bob, or is that, you know what I'm saying?
Subtract that from the 20,
From the total.
yeah,
That,
from your
okay, so
grand
that
total, just
includes our
subtract.
savings on NADA.
Right.
That's already in there. We don't, you know what I'm saying? You subtracted from Maple to Chestnut, not from Maple to NADA and then NADA to Chestnut, you know what I'm saying?
No, I put it together.
Okay.
It's 265 feet from Maple to Nada. It's 877 feet from Maple to the sidewalk where we
Chestnut.
finished the work on
Okay.
Chestnut.
So we subtract 6,300 and that would put us at about, what, 14,700? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're starting at 23 for everything. You figure 8 and 15 is 23.
Okay.
You
right.
subtract 2, if you only go as far as Native Scientific, that's 21, not 19.
Right, okay.
All right.
That's with the roll in it.
Yeah, that is.
Right,
That was
yes,
what was
yes.
done in there, right?
And then, obviously, my opinion is, I think we gotta go beyond Chestnut. I mean, if we're gonna do it,
There's a very mean piece
yeah.
that I wanted to blend in, that where the old railroad grade is.
And that's what I've been asking you about.
Yeah, we want to blend, what we want to be able to do is come up with that and blend that in. And it really makes it, it really makes it work. But where you want to stop is your business from then on. I'm not going
I think
to influence you one way or the other.
my opinion, I would like to finish at the cut that was made at Nita. We're going to be patching that anyway.
Mhm.
We're going to be doing that street. We might as well go as far as we can without, really extending ourselves too much. I think that's a good stopping point. And at some point we can do the rest. Go around the corner and down the other street if we ever do that. In the near future. I'm not sure what our schedule would be, but I think we should go that far. That's around 21,000. So that gives us the 7,000 approximately for Prospect that you're looking at.
And you spend 3 times as much, 21,000 on Butternut and 7,000 on Prospect, which is a more important street to this village.
Which he's not going to spend any more than 7,000 on Prospect. That's
Well, what I'm saying is you're spending 3 times as much on a very residential street that gets limited use than you are on spending a major artery in and out of the village. And I have a problem, I guess, with that priority. But when I looked at these, I thought we had kind of segregated Church Street and Prospect, and they were separate from what we were going to do on the rest of the streets. Randy, I think that's what...
I had different conceptions of Prospect myself.
I had Church and Prospect kind of together, and we were going to take care of those kind of separately, perhaps through floating or taking out a bond or whatever we were going to do. And then we were going to attack other streets. And when I saw this, I said 3 times as much on Butternut as Prospect, which is a more important street to the village. Not that anyone doesn't need to be done, but I think we have our priorities backwards.
Well, see, what happened on Church Street, and we originally looked at Church and Prospect that way, but as we got the bottom line on Church, we found out that it was going to be $300,000. which ate up every penny we could afford to put aside for bonding. So that's when Prospect dropped out of that
The land
project.
prospect, well, we'll level off and resurface it.
That's
We'll
right.
do that for
That's
5
what
or
I
10
thought we
years.
were gonna do, yeah.
And when we get that done at 7,000, if it's taking us 21,000 to do butternuts,
See, I guess that's not what
you know,
what Bob had proposed. I thought we were gonna fix, you know, the dips, and we were gonna put a light layer
On the
surface on the
That's
whole
right.
street.
are we still doing that?
No, we can't.
And when did we decide we weren't gonna do that?
I have no idea.
Well,
And that's why when I saw this, I said, wait a minute, what's wrong with
well, that, obviously there was a real communication problem between me and Bob and the rest of the board, because when we met in April, and I mean, I can show you guys Bob's memo, it was on March 21st, and then the planning work we did in April, there just wasn't any money to put a culvert on Prospect Street. I mean, my goodness, if you think about what it cost us to asphalt this little stretch of butternut at 2 inches, and you multiply that to Prospect Street, I don't think our whole $28,000 would put the asphalt down on Prospect if we took every penny of it. Which is why Bob did this memo to us on Prospect and the other moguls, and he broke it out to fix the cuts and then smooth with asphalt over the top. And obviously, we had a real serious miscommunication on that. And I knew that when I talked to Bob, because Bob had talked to Chuck and Kim, and then I talked to you, and it was the same thing. And I said, we really had a different view of what was going to happen on that. So,
See, I'll never be able to get an asphalt company to come out and just do the patches. You have to have, it's the stick and the carrot there. You've got to have enough work for him to come out and do something where he can hit it hard and then go on. They're not going to do it by the ton. This is kind of a sweet deal. You're just not going to do patching like that and get a pavement to do it. You know, you've got to have the carrot and stick, and then get them out there to do that and say, well, I got these patches too that need to be done. Let's get them done. Well, we don't have all the money in the world. It'd be nice if we did.
now, you know,
Like to find the tree.
we could, I mean, if we wanted to, we can do it, but we'd have to bond it. And then we'd have to figure out where we're going to get the revenue to pay for it down the road. And that's the problem, because I think we're pretty stretched. The debt service on Church Street is going to be about $36,000 a year. That's going to take, you know, every penny we get out of the park in terms of pilot payments for the next 2 years. So I don't know what, how you want to handle that. I'm sorry, I was surprised, but obviously that was just not clear in those meetings we had. It must just not have come out clearly what was going to happen, and I apologize for that.
Chuck and I were a little surprised when we were riding around.
I had to come right back to Missy and say, you know, this.
And for once,
Whoa!
for once I could say, yes, Bob, I know
Agree.
exactly what you're talking about. So it was, I mean, but obviously we failed to communicate that. I mean, when we did this budgeting, I mean, we must not have communicated, because in terms of where we started, and this is something when we're done with the whole issue I want to address in terms of how we can try to be more accurate in our cost and our time projections. You know, 'cause I think that's it. We do want to figure out where we went wrong in our estimates and try to figure out what we can do to prevent that in the future. But, you know, I guess the immediate question is how much of butternut do we want to pay, understanding that we're balancing that off against Prospect and Ashland Drive, and I guess those were the two other major streets we talked about. Could I just, at this point, in the fund balance, that was the kind of the remaining question, what we might be able to transfer to also fill in the streets. We ended up with,
We have about 45,000, and we just took 5 out. So 49. is 49,000 from
Okay.
balance to the general.
Okay.
And we just find out.
For the, oh, for Sam, okay. So then 44,000, and we want to make sure we keep that, and I'm sorry, 44,000, that's with the FEMA flood monies out of there also, that's set aside
5,000 for
for
the street.
for the street, okay. What's our, kind of our goal to make sure we keep as a fund balance? 40?
Well, it depends on how you want to budget. If you want to kind of hang on until the end of the year, you should keep more. If you're willing to gamble, you know, it's your call.
10% of general rule we tried to follow?
No, we would do that more than we boy, I don't know.
Well, I think the issue right here is I'm looking at prospects and I'm saying, okay, we're gonna put 21,000, 23,000 on these, and no matter what we come up with, if it's 40,000, is it gonna touch prospect?
Do you remember that discussion, Albert?
No, I don't. I don't remember. All I know,
Oh, darn,
we had a
okay.
discussion one time, and a discussion that I remember solely was saying, okay, our prospect to be due would cost about $327,000.
Right,
I remember that conversation. But other any conversation,
yeah.
I missed it somewhere.
Well, I remember one conversation we had in one of the meetings was that we wouldn't be able to do the prospect the way we were going to be able to do Church Street, but we could pave it, take out the dips, pave it,
Hey, Bill.
50 grand.
And that's
Yeah,
just somewhere around there, that's my
The paving
recollection.
thing was,
Well,
everybody thought the whole,
that would
Right.
last long enough until the reconstruction, until the industrial
That's-
park
I
kicked
think
in
we all
more
were
money, and
the
we
same,
can do that.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, though, that's gone.
Yeah, I
We're
know.
spending $20-some odd thousand
No,
dollars
that
on the
was,
side street.
that was gone. I mean,
Uh,
I
I
don't
don't
know, but how can you look at that street and think you're gonna, I mean, if you look at what we had in the budget.
I don't know,
everything-
I haven't been on that committee, so
But-
I don't know. And I don't recall it ever getting dropped.
Well, if you look at Bob's memo, I mean, it's not like, I can buy an honest miscommunication. All of a sudden it's gone, I 311 per cut. I mean, you're talking about asphalting over that chunk of the road that we fixed the mobile on. If you look at that memo, nowhere does it say asphalt for however many feet Prospect would be. You know, to do
Again,
the whole thing
I
over
think
the
that
top.
was something we were talking about bonding, and we figured that we would be able to bond to do just the paving for Prospect along with, Church.
And we could, if we're willing to swallow the debt service. I mean, we could do that. We could get an estimate of how much it would cost.
Well, see, that's why in the last meeting, I don't remember, I said, well, what's the estimate on Prospect Street? I don't know if everybody remembers, I asked that question, and they said, well, it was already done. And that was the estimate on just doing the cuts, the depressions there that we were gonna fix. And that's, I guess that's where I
Right. Well, and this,
missed out on.
this is, well, luckily, I mean, luckily it all came to light now as opposed to when the work is completely, finished. Do you want us to work up an estimate and look at doing the bond on that? I mean, the way I thought the discussion went, we figured that, the way I interpreted it was that we didn't think we could do enough good on that sub-base to put the money into covering that whole street, because we knew that what we did was going to come popping up again within the next 5 years.
I know I gave you this number. I told you that for every inch of asphalt you put down over a reflective crack will last 1 year. I remember saying that to this board.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
So if you put an inch of asphalt down over cracks, it will last 1 year.
Just remember, whatever we're gonna do is gonna be enough to make the situation considerably better, and then we would have increased revenue from the industrial park, and we could tackle it like we are Church Street.
Right.
But we're not getting anywhere now, we might as well put all the money into butternut, fix that, so we don't have to worry about it again and move on. I guess that's my position at this one.
cutouts where the moguls is, if there's anything, any monies to address that, I think we ought to address it. But as far as going out for bond for that, I think we've got enough on the go right now. My feeling, that's just mine, and I'm only new.
Well,
But still, it's money.
If you look at Bob's estimate of $650 per cut, which, you know, with our experience on butternut, we should up that price, because we came in quite a bit more expensive in butternut than we thought. But let's say we do it at $1,000. That would allow you to fix 7 of the worst bumps and dips on Prospect Street. And if we choose to pull a little bit from the fund balance to maybe cover some of our other projects, we might be able to squeeze a couple more out of that.
So I think that can be addressed down the road as well. But that's, you know, we'll see how we make out on each nut. How far is it buttoned up?
You're as bad as I
We got chestnut all done.
Too
I
many
think-
trees in this
I think we all got a problem with our trees. But, you know, I think our discussion all started was how far we were gonna go.
Right.
But on butternut, you've got that section that's just past where you're ending now, and if you're gonna do reconstruction, do it while you're in there and get it done with.
So
Because it's bad.
go to NADA, go up to NADA.
And is
that
that
have
gonna
to
require
replace
any
that
digging,
field.
or is it just gonna be paving from what's been done?
paving.
It should be-
I'm gonna take out 3 inches in front of it. There'll be a 3-inch sub base put in, you know, dense binder put in the bottom, and then on top of that will be 2 inches.
We're gonna make a nice cut across that street, right?
We're gonna have to.
Well, I mean,
That's where you're gonna stop it, yeah.
yeah, well, that's
I mean,
not what
I'm
he's
gonna
done,
have to
that's
cut
why,
it.
that's why I'm making that statement.
We're gonna have to cut a V in.
V or whatever, because, I mean, we just don't wanna, you know, just pull up blacktop and just pave it so it's jagged, like we have in the past.
That's, you know, that's where we spent a lot of time last year. We were trying to saw cut. We just don't have enough people to saw cut and do all these patches like that.
Well, I'm not talking I'm talking a major,
Yeah, I know, major cut. Major cut. We'll box it out and cut it out.
because we're spending all that money, you know,
Hey,
we should at least make a decent, you know, transition to the rest of the
is that where
area.
I'm stopping? Tell me right now where I'm stopping, so I know.
Well, but what Chuck's saying is really
It's
important,
really
because
important.
where it's cut now is not a good clean cut at all.
Oh, absolutely not.
And you would wanna,
Right.
you want that to be.
Not only
smooth.
there, but also
So
where
before we tell you
we
gonna,
tie into Chestnut and where we tie into Prospect.
before we tell you where we're gonna stop, you gotta tell us that you're gonna cleanly.
Well, if you go just beyond the cut, then you'll blend it. He'll blend it in. The paver will blend it in. You won't make a cut per se to do that.
Oh, they just don't, you know, stop and pave over top. It's just, you gotta make at least.
You gotta make it
Yeah.
has to be blended in.
Okay, so we've agreed it'll be a clean
Okay.
cut, nicely blended. Any other discussion on how far to go?
I think we're all pretty
So,
well.
Kim, you wanna make a motion to go past the cut at NADA?
I motion to go past just past NADA.
Okay. Moved by trustee Champlain,
Second.
second trustee Connor. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carried. So now, that should leave us about $7,000 plus whatever we want to pull out of the fund balance. The reason that we might want to take a look at this point is that when we go out for the asphalt for butternut, it's really, we probably want to do this all together. We want to get the asphalt for Elm Street, which is covered separately. We already have money set aside for that, and for the cuts on Prospect at the same time. So, in general, do we want to authorize Bob to do the work up to $7,000, do what we can do on Prospect at this point?
I thought we already did by the nature of the schedule that we approved. Pretty much, you know, the work schedule.
I even laid it out in those words, until the money runs out.
Yeah, I have no problem with that either.
you mean, to do?
You've got 7,000 and take out as many bumps as you
Mm-hmm.
can. Do you have any idea what it would cost to go all the way down the street and make it passable for 3 years?
No.
I guess I mean,
No, I
how many
think,
are we looking for? Like you said, you want to take some of the fund out. How much are we talking?
More when we'd have a fund
Oh,
balance.
yes.
Yeah.
Are we talking
well, you've got,
how far is
I can think of about 5 rocks that have got to come out of there. They keep riding up and down it, finding one. You could tell a rock because it has radial cracks around it. Well, so I know there's at least 5 of those. That's what-
You don't have to bond all of Prospect, and you don't have to repave all of it if you wanted to.
do chunks.
If you wanted to do the best you could on there, and just bond 20 and you tear them with the fund balance, and you've got 7. I don't know what you're talking. It'd be
Yeah,
fun for a couple
you
of
can do that, or you can do what we can do this year and take your CHIPS money next year.
I don't
and try
think
to
we're
do
gonna
the
drop
same thing.
Prospect.
I don't think you can afford to drop
We're
Prospect.
gonna keep looking at it. I guess we're all
Revisit.
probably,
I think it's one of those things that's gonna be like a toothache. Oh, yeah. Keep going back.
I think we're hoping we can do everything this year. And obviously we can't.
Yeah.
We thought we'd do both Prospect and Church and just isn't happening. I still would like to see within the next few years something else done with Prospect other than just, taking the bumps up. I think that's something we have to seriously look at. Because it's one of those streets that needs to work.
There's absolutely no argument for me on it.
And the work it needs is under the pavement, because the pavement itself on that street, the surface isn't too bad.
It's not reflectively cracked, it's mostly utility cuts, it's mostly work that's been done by the village or by village contractors in the past, other than a few, as I said, a few rocks.
Okay,
I'll
well,
make a motion that we use the remainder of 7,000 to try and fix some of them cuts, and if we deem it necessary, to continue in the general fund. But we should give him the authorization to do that if he's gonna go out for tar.
okay,
For-
yeah. And we do actually, we need to have a motion on that too, to authorize Bob to go out and deal with those quotes. So we have a motion to use the $7,000 for doing what can be done on Prospect. Is there a second? Second, trustee Tremblay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, okay. At this point, since we will not be meeting again for 3 weeks, and with any luck, knock on wood, Elm and the work on Prospect will be done. Would you like to authorize Bob to go ahead and obtain the asphalt and get someone to truck it in and lay it, based upon getting 3 standard quotes? We have several quotes. The problem is
They're not apples to apples.
they're not comparing the job for each one. So we do need to get 3 standard written quotes, but if we could do that and the total amount for the asphalt and the actual laying of that comes in, let's see, we cut out 2,000. So it comes in under, say, 13,000. Can we would you like to authorize Bob to go ahead and do that if it's possible during the next 3 weeks?
The 13 is within the 48,000 we're talking about.
Right,
So
right.
moved.
Okay, moved by trustee Young.
Is that proper amount, 13,000?
Well, I took, he had estimated
You'd estimate 50.
15,000, I believe, additional.
15 for, right, and then we took off 2 for,
Right.
from Nada to the corner of Maple. So that leaves 13, but then we're gonna do the additional work on Prospect, Blacktop, and the cut, which is gonna be paid anyway on Elm Street from the flood. So I think it'll be more 13.
Maybe we should raise that up. What do you think, Bob?
I'd like a little more time to take it over, to be honest with
I was moving
Yeah,
to
you're
come
looking
up
at
to
it-
the 48,000 that you had indicated we had for roads.
Oh, that's true.
That was it. That's what I thought the 13,000 was. That's why I said, does that bring it up to
you. Is
48,000?
that, you're just saying 13,000 in asphalt or 13,000 in application, in place tons?
Well,
Let's see, I guess I'm lost
Okay.
on that.
I think you had for your asphalt, it was about $11,000.
Right. Cost of asphalt, 11.
Right, and so then you needed the money, which I thought was gonna be about 6 or 7 to lay that. So I guess, do you wanna say not to exceed the amount budgeted for the street contractual, and that leaves it open?
That's what Doug was saying.
We will not be doing this until we get the surface work done on Elm and Prospect.
Right.
It'll all be done, it'll be ready, it'll be settling in, then we'll go out and we'll know, we'll have a dollar amount, we'll know.
Well, that's what I was saying, when up to the 48,000, when you said 13,
Okay.
does that take it to the 48?
Well,
That was the intention of my motion.
We don't want to do the 48, it'd be 28, because 20 of that 48 is for normal,
Right.
For the operating.
yeah, for operating costs throughout the year.
Okay, so could we, and then why don't we say up to the total of 28,000 we budgeted for streets plus the 5,000 we put aside for FEMA, because really we have that money too, and there's asphalt coming out of that, so a total of 33,000. Is that, can we, is this gonna be okay?
It's not like I'm gonna run out and go to Florida on this. Jeez.
It's combination, materials and services. With the services, but the services are, you can subtract out the material, which is the lion's share of it, and it's under 20. The-
10,000 services, 20,000 labor.
It's 10,000 services?
It is a 10,000 material, 20,000 labor services.
I thought it was 20 that we were working on.
Labor and material.
Right.
Services and materials.
Well, my understanding was the state bid asphalt didn't count, because we're getting state bid, that we didn't have to worry about bidding that out.
How much is
Okay, so, well now, okay, what do you call the asphalt? You call that?
That's material.
The materials, okay,
Yeah,
so take
that's
that
already
out.
bid.
So that would be probably $14,000. All right. And then out of then you have some of the materials that are actually the gravel and stuff that's on hand,
That's,
coming to do Prospect and Elm. When I figured out the cost of the asphalt, we figured about the actual laying of the asphalt, it would be about $4,200 on butternut, plus what we spent on Prospect and Elm, which would be far less than that. So it would be well under $10,000. Okay. But that was, I mean, because I thought 20,000, because this is what we worked on to make
One
sure
night.
we were under the 20,000 procurement limit.
right.
My understanding was that 20,000 was for the cost of trucking it and laying it, because the asphalt itself we're buying under state contract. And that we're well under that $20,000.
It should be.
Well,
Because we shouldn't count the gravel that Bob's, I mean, in that $33,000 that we're talking about is all the gravel and all the rentals for butternut and elm and everything.
Stuff
That
we're
shouldn't
doing on our
count.
own.
We're doing that on our own. So in terms of the services we're contracting for, it's to truck that asphalt up and to lay it. And that should be well under 10,000, not to mention 20,000. So that, when we talk,
this is the single hardest way to do this, but it saves us the most amount of money. The only way you can do it, and still get it done.
I always thought we would look at total project cost, not where it was coming from. So I can't argue with you. I've never heard.
I mean, we did get we got all the state contract stuff in. Greystone's on their list.
The whole project.
Pardon?
My impression was if an auditor walked in here and said, he spent $35,000 on paving.
No, because I paid for the village itself paid for the asphalt. We purchased it. We just hired a service to put it down and to haul it.
Now, Joan, you call my comment is, right?
You spend more over the village's fiscal year, which is from June 1st to May 31st, over the bid limits that have to be bid. Doesn't matter if the project
if I truck it, what does it matter? I can't deduct that?
No, wait a minute, because we,
Is that really?
well, Friday, this was all okay, so we're just gonna have to see if we get back to that. As of Friday, this was all okay,
Yeah.
according, because we went through. I just wanna make sure it still is, but it was, I thought we were fine. We were well below we had to worry about. We'll check. Because otherwise, we're gonna have, if we have to bid this out, we can't afford to do half this.
No, you
Then
can't
it's
do any of
ours
that.
now, like we
Throw it
done.
away.
Stay on the top of the purchase price. Limits on the top of the corner. Competitive bidding is mandatory for all purchase contracts over 10,000 and all public works contracts over 20,000. Purchase contracts are goods and equipment, and public works are service, labor, and construction.
Okay, so we're talking about is the public works, because it's the service of hauling and putting it down.
Okay.
So we're well under $20,000 in terms of what any of these contractors are gonna be doing for us. Because all they're doing is hauling and laying asphalt.
And is your goods and equipment under 10?
The asphalt?
No.
The asphalt's over 10.
But it's
state
already
bid.
state bid.
Do we still have to bid it out?
I mean, that's the purpose of doing whole state
It's
bid.
purpose state bid, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole purpose of it. You might as well throw the whole idea out if you don't use it.
If we have to, I mean, we can certainly bid the asphalt. That's not, if we have to go out to bid anyway, I mean, if we have to get the quote, we're gonna be held up for that, we could bid out the asphalt, but I guess we'll have to find out. I thought we were
I know
fine
that's how
with
other
that.
towns do it, not villages. I.e. Chazy and Beacontown both.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and authorize it, we'll check it all out, and obviously, if we have to go out to bid for the asphalt, we'll stay under the $33,000 total for Butternut, Prospect, and Elm. We'll stay under the project totals, and if we have to bid it out, we'll bid it out. How does that sound? Okay. And, I mean, my understanding as of Friday was we were fine, but we'll check that. If we're not, then we'll go ahead and do what we have to do on the material. Somebody had made a motion, I think.
Yep.
I did.
Okay, Chuck made a motion. Do we have a second?
No, I have trustee Young and trustee LaFleur to spend up to 30.
We have a motion and a second to spend up to $33,000. Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, we changed the figure from
That's
18 to 20, 13 to 28 to 33.
pending. What we're doing is we'll do it appropriately for the village purchase requirements or procurement policy. We'll make sure we do it appropriately, which we think at this time means getting out a standard request for quotes, so we're comparing apples to apples.
Put it on a form.
Right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay. I've been asked by Supervisor Beal to make appointments to the IDA board, and I would like to appoint Paul Garrett for a term of the remainder of this year through our organizational meeting in April. Could I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Connor, second Trustee Trombley. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. I do have an update on the flood buyout program. Rodney Brown from the County Planning Office called to inform us that the county is going to be submitting an application by July 8th for the flood buyout program. That includes all of the lots in the village that are eligible for that, River, some on Main, one on Church. He expects to hear by mid-August, and at that point, if they get the money, then they have to appraise each property, go to the landowners, see if the landowners want to do the buyout before the actual buyout takes place. Right now, they're still working on the local matching money because this is a 75% state and federal project, and 25% has to come locally. They have asked Senator Stafford to include that in the budget. They're not sure if that's going to happen. And if they do need the state bond act money, they might come to us to ask us to apply on behalf of the project. You have to be a small municipality to get that money. The one thing he did ask, and that, they obviously want to make sure that this is something that the Village of Champlain supports. They won't go ahead unless we're in support of the project. And so he asked me to bring this before the board. From our previous discussions, I got the idea that people were in favor of this. And we do stand to lose a small part of our tax base, but we also would be freed up from some serious infrastructure maintenance problems. So, any discussion on this?
Just thought of something. That might have been your way out of your wetland mitigation.
It already is wetland, that's why they're buying it out.
But it is, but the turnover of money, Mike,
At the rate we're going,
it's,
when the buyout's done, we'll still be able to make a wetland there because we won't have one anywhere
it won't
else.
be
So
done. That's what I'm
Probably
looking
won't
at.
be too late,
They'll check on it every Monday that they're coming up here.
right?
2 weeks from now, he'll check on what it is and tell us he checked on it, and he'll hear about it.
So, can I have a motion to support the application for
So
buyout? Moved by trustee Young. Second trustee Laporte, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And a quick update on the industrial park. I spoke to Dory Kurtz. She should have some information for us in terms of the easement we had talked about to extend water out to the bank property. We should have information coming on that. We are still waiting for their attorney to give us the changes that they would like in those proposed industrial park district regulations. World Warehouse should be ready soon with the site plan and special permit requests for the planning board and zoning board. They are working on the landscaping on building number 9 this week. I've seen some of the people out there, I think, taking samples. We did get the blacktop done in front of the building, which looks good. They expect to go out to bid on June 30th for the work in the park. That's the EDA grant, work on the water and the sewer and the streets. And they have asked me to sign their applications for Department of Health and DEC approval for extending the water and the sewer main up the street in. And so Bob and I will be taking a look at that this week, and I assume the board would have no problem if I went ahead and, if it's okay, sign that and got that in. Okay, and that is all I have at this time. Trustee Laporte?
I have no work.
Thank you, Trustee Connor.
Just one thing, Trustee Trombley, Superintendent Sullivan, and myself reviewed culverts on Prospect Street. We found 2 or 3 that we really think need work. One of them is from the letter that we received from the village resident. One of them is our own culvert that goes into our water tank. I would say that any time a truck could go through it because it's rusted right out. And there was one other one that was raised. As far as when we'd be able to do these, I think they're not on our schedule, so I think they would probably, if approved, have to be done after everything else has been done that we have proposed to do this year. And also warranting and funding available to do it. But it's just a little update on what we came up with.
Would you like to deal with the old business, the one in the old business at this time?
Sure.
Which on the topic? I think we had a request from a resident for culvert replacement.
Right, and that is one of the ones that we saw that there is several bumps where a car could potentially scrape bottom. And I would say that should be done. Again, it's not on our schedule. So it's a matter of if we can fit it in towards the end of the year. Our construction on the, it's right here working on the
In
road.
terms of culverts.
I don't think we have any culverts.
Nothing now, because
So there's no request.
You know, we took care of I think the outstanding request we had in the spring.
If something happened at that site, wouldn't we be liable? If something, see, I look at this as, this is a liability situation for us. This isn't a convenience thing, fill in the ditch when we get around to it, do it. This is more of a liability. If something does scrape out of damages onto a vehicle, I feel we're liable. So this is the kind of thing I think we should try, fit it in if we can, as soon as we can. I wouldn't put this at the end of something, or at the end of the list.
fine.
If that's
I'll do it whenever you
Well,
tell me.
if you feel that way, we could get to it when we're working on Prospect, and that might be a logical time. We have the equipment there anyway.
That's what I said at the previous meeting when this
Right.
issue came up. So while we're there, do this. That's
Okay.
and any other that was.
I think the
Okay.
one that is probably worse off and could be potentially a problem is our own. I mean, you can look into the culvert, a hole like that, and see the inside of the culvert. And it's,
The only thing is, when we do this, we have to accept that it's a longer time that the butternut's going to be unpaved, and you know that if we send the guys up, I suppose what we could do is do that last, do Elm, and then do Prospect, and then before we finally finish up Prospect, we could go ahead and wait for the paving and do the culverts at the same time, if you want to do that.
something like that, one culvert should take
No.
a day.
A day. Well, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a matter of a day and the materials.
And now I believe this is, when we look at this as our responsibility, is that what you were
I
thinking?
think that's what
or
we had figured that would be our responsibility.
part of our drainage system?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We've
similar to what
replaced
we've done
culverts
before.
underneath
Right.
driveways before that were bad. They're raised because of whatever.
Okay, very good. So, Chuck, would you like to make a motion that we go ahead and add this to the work schedule immediately after we finish the work on Prospect? Do you want to do all three of the culverts at the same time? Is this what you're proposing, or
I would only propose two,
the two we've had, ours and the one we've had a
Yeah.
request for?
because the other one isn't that bad. It's a little raised, but it's not that bad.
Okay.
It's something that maybe in the future we might want to look at, but at this point, I don't think it's necessary. It's not going to cause any problems.
Okay, so we have a motion to add our culvert and the one that the resident has requested fixed to the work schedule immediately after we complete the work on Prospect.
Do you want to include Elm on that also? Because you're going to be paving Elm at the same time?
We probably would want to do Elm, if that's done, then do Prospect and then do the culvert while we're still kind of geared up there. Is there a second? Second, trustee Trombley. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Carried. So we'll send a letter out to the resident informing them that we should be up within the next month. Do that. Okay. Anything else, Chuck?
That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Young?
one thing I was going to mention that I guess you had already mentioned that a special permit has not been requested yet of the zoning board. So I wanted to keep us informed of that because it was quite a sense of urgency about 6 weeks ago on that. So, and nothing yet has happened. And then the other thing, just a comment, I think the work that we had done on Church Street was a very good part. It's really held up well.
Yeah, it's a lot nicer than I originally
yeah.
thought.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's exceptional, and especially with the length of time things are taking, it was a good thing to do, and it's worked out very well. That's all.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Tremblay?
The first letter is a complimentary letter from Thomas McGrath. This officer.
Do you have any report? I know we've been so long. Okay, thank you. We'll get to that in just a second.
She wants to be superintendent.
Okay. We put in this Bob's report, it just wouldn't seem right tonight.
Okay.
You could if you
We'll
want.
be back to you in just a second on that. Report of the superintendent.
Do you have any questions on my written report? We had a kind of a weird thing happen over in Church Road, and that's why I wrote it down, that spill. We could use the television to our benefit. Tell people not to mix an acid and chlorine bleach or an acid and a basic together. It's very, it might save their life if they don't do that. As previously discussed, was very short-handed.
Right, well, we hope
Yeah.
we've addressed that for you.
We've already addressed
Did you have something again?
Yeah, the vandalism that's done downtown.
Yes.
Have they gotten any of the kids that have
No.
done this?
No,
I'm assuming it's probably kids.
Oh, I think we know who they are. It's just a matter of proving who they are. That sometimes the proof is harder to come by the knowledge of who does it.
Are they doing any extra patrolling down there, like going through the downtown a little more often than they were previously?
You're not in my bailiwick now.
Yeah,
You're out
actually,
of there.
I can pass that on to.
It just might be a good idea
We've
to
discussed
pass through there
that.
a little more often.
We discussed that.
Because the sad part of it is the more work that the beautification committee is going to be doing, it's just going to give them a little more to play
They
with.
planted flowers tonight, you know.
They did.
Yes, they did.
I know I saw the plants pots out
Well,
yesterday.
you know, I'll tell you, other communities who have had similar problems have taken some steps to address this, and it's simply, if we can't have people out on the streets after a certain hour because things are getting torn up around town, there are ways to deal with that.
There are
And, you know,
I was talking to a couple tonight that feel uncomfortable going over the bridge some nights.
I can
Walking
understand
over
that. I can understand
And
that.
it's just not right. And I really think that's really nasty. Not feel comfortable walking in your own village.
It's true. And I think our police officers are pretty good about, you know, talking and explaining things, and maybe we could just pass that on and ask them to just stop by and explain the situation. You know, I think that would be a good thing to do. Maybe sometimes people don't, especially young people, don't realize how they're perceived by older people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just to make them aware might be a very good idea. We'll try to be proactive on that and get them know. Because you know, you're right, with all the work that's being done downtown, it would be a tragedy. And everybody I talk to, everybody, the downtown is, they see that as part of the village, and people would like to see it working better. And now we've got people working to do that.
And it would be a shame to see it ruined.
Okay. Anything else on Bob's report?
I do have a purchase requisition.
We have a purchase requisition for a total of $450. That's from the sewer account, air filters for the blowers and generator. I guess from what Bob told me, this is preventative maintenance and a normal expense to replace and keep those pieces of equipment running.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Young, second Trustee Laporte. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Anything else, Bob? Or anything else for Bob? Okay, now we'll move on to correspondence.
Was it Jen?
Part 2.
Yes.
I'll try again. Item 1, complimentary request for financial assistance from the Clinton County Historical Association Museum.
Could we send a letter back on this indicating that our budget year, we will not be budgeting again until January, and we will certainly keep their request in mind at that time? To have a response on that.
Item 4 is correspondence to Fire Chief Bill from Attorney Keeble regarding the status of a firefighter. Item 5 is correspondence from Quest Diagnostics Incorporated regarding the revised service plan. 6 is correspondence from Time Warner, including an edit to franchise.
This is the draft agreement that the gentleman from Time Warner promised to send us a few weeks ago. He has highlighted the changes in the front section of the letter, and so maybe we could plan on discussing this at our next meeting. Okay, very good. I think we have, is it till the end of August, our extension? Does anyone recall, we had an extension on the franchise agreement. Seems to me it was through the end of August. So, August 8th. Okay, so we do have a couple more board meetings then before we have to worry about that. So if anyone has any questions from reviewing that, also if you would like, I don't know, Alvin and Kim, if you had a chance to meet and talk to, was that before the new board came in? It must have been, when Ken was here. I think they're very willing to come and meet with us again. If you have anything you'd like to discuss, so just let me know on that, okay?
Item 7 is correspondence from Time Warner regarding the services that will be offered to the customers. And that's all for this one.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to old business. The NCCS sewer line agreement, Mr. Keeble assures us he is working on that. I hope to have something on that soon. We dealt with the culvert on Prospect Street. The town water and sewer contracts have been signed. There's an accomplishment, I think, for both boards. We discussed the environmental impact statement draft. The only thing we were waiting for were comments from the ABC attorney and also comments from Adori Kurtz on the prohibited uses that we had included. And she did respond to me on those, and I just wanted to get these out to you tonight so you can take a look. What I had Joanne Xerox for you is a copy of, on the back, those are the original changes that Attorney Marshall proposed adding to the environmental impact statement. This is the section in the thresholds that deals with uses that are prohibited in the park. And these are, in the ABC's draft, they said prohibit any uses that are not low or moderate, according to New York State standards. Attorney Marshall said prohibit all of these uses. This is their response to that. They have asked us to make some changes in what we had proposed to put in. Basically, what they'd like us to do is allow certain uses as long as we stick to state and federal standards. For example, in number 1 would prohibit any use that includes manufacturing, processing, storage, transportation, handling of hazardous chemicals. That would wipe out several of the industries we have in the village right now. And what they would like us to do is say that are not treated to comply with applicable state or federal regulations. So say, like NADA does, you can handle hazardous chemicals as long as you follow all regulations. So that was 1. Same thing with number 2. Anything that would involve discharge into the groundwater sewer system of any waste, they're saying again, not properly treated to comply with state or federal regulations.
We have a sewer one, too.
Right.
Pretty strong.
Otherwise, no one can put anything in the sewer system, and what's the point of having a sewer system if you can't
use it?
And I think a lot of businesses would need to do that. Again, 3, production of, I think that's supposed to be undesirable as opposed to undescribable smoke. We had some of that actually a couple weeks ago. Undescribable smoke up in my neighborhood, or airborne particulate matter, and again, which is not properly treated. 5, they had no problem with eliminating anything that would produce dangerous levels of radioactivity. Very glad to hear that. Number 6, they had no problem prohibiting cement, explosives, fertilizers, and so on, but they did want to scratch natural gas, thinking that maybe a small cogeneration plant, nothing obviously on the line of Stockton Seaboard, that would exceed all our thresholds, but something small might be something that they would want to attract. Number 7, also they wanted to eliminate the section that said no reduction, refining, smelting, and alloy of metal ores. Apparently Eastern Die Cast would fit into that category. They do those processes and without any kind of adverse environmental impact. Number 9, they questioned why ban residential uses. My response to that was, why not ban residential uses? I don't.
Why zone it industrial and then include residential?
Right, and when I spoke to Adori Kurtz, she said she had no problem with that. That